Thank you for coming along to our batch messaging and appointment reminders webinar. Just to let you know, this webinar will be recorded and emailed to all attendees. And also just to introduce myself, so my name's Nikita and I'm an implementation specialist at Accurx. During this webinar, you might have access to all or some of the features that I'll be showing you. If you're not sure what features you've got available at your practice, please contact support@accurx.com and they'll be able to confirm that. Today, what we're going to be covering is batch messaging, appointment reminders, friends and family tests, and also any upcoming product releases. What I'll actually do is start with our upcoming product releases. So we did recently release the ability to set up a post-appointment automated message where you can link in your friends and family test survey. What I'm going to do is demo this to you after we go through appointment reminders. So I won't spend too much time on this screen as we will just be seeing it in a few minutes. Something that we are releasing very soon is actually the ability to schedule out a batch message to be sent at a later date and time, and also to stagger that sending. For example, if you wanted to send out an asthma flurry to all of your patients with asthma, instead of sending this out all in one lump and potentially getting responses from patients all at one time, you could actually stagger that sending to be over a week, over 2 weeks, depending on how many patients you're sending a message to. So this will be coming in the next week or couple of weeks. So yeah, very excited for this to be released as it was requested a lot from practices. We're also building a flurry builder. So in the first instance, this will be available within batch messaging. And what this will allow the practice to do is actually get some simple responses back from a patient. This will be in the form of a 2-question multiple choice flurry. In this flurry, which are our structured questionnaires, you'll be able to create your own custom flurry, and you can also have coded responses that the patient can choose from. We are starting to pilot the flurry builder this month, so looking for a rollout kind of end of September, but yeah, very excited for the pilot of this. And then I've just linked on the last page here some support that you can get from our team. So you can live chat with our support team if you're on our website, or you can email customer.success@accurx.com if you have any questions after the webinar. We will have time for any Q&As just at the end of our session. So yeah, if you've got any questions, please just add them into the Q&A box and we'll go through that just after I've demoed the features. This is a System 1 webinar week. So as you can see, I've just logged into System 1 and my toolbar is just updating. I'm just logging into my practice, so this might just take a moment. Everything we're doing today, though, will be done from the Accurx toolbar. So there'll be no interaction actually with System 1. It's just loaded in the background so that my toolbar is loading up. Here we go. Okay, so my initials are white. That means I can start sending a batch message. So we'll start with sending a batch message first, and then we'll move on to appointment reminders and also friends and family test. What I'm going to do is just click my initials on my toolbar, and then I'm selecting batch messaging. If you've never sent a batch message before from your practice, this is a page that you'll see. What this does is actually breaks down batch messaging in 3 easy steps. First of all, you need to specify what patients you're actually going to be messaging. You do this by uploading a patient list. Second of all, you just need to write your message. So when you're sending a batch message, you get the choice of sending a flurry questionnaire or an SMS. The third step is to review and send. So at this point, you can actually add any additional SNOMED codes. And when you do send a batch message, this will save a record of that message going out into the patient's clinical system, into the patient's clinical record. What I'm going to do is just press this button at the top that says send a batch message, and we'll go through the flow together. First of all, I need to add my patient list. I do this by exporting a list from my clinical system. So there's some steps on how to do this if you're using EMIS or if you're using System 1. So what you do is follow the steps here. You export your list of patients and save that as a CSV file. And this is where you upload that file. So I'm going to just upload my file and I can see here it's just loaded. I can see there's actually been 3 of 8 patients who have been accepted. This means I had 8 patients on my list originally, but I'll only be able to send a batch message to 3 of them. 5 of 8 patients have not been accepted onto my list. That's because these patients didn't have valid UK mobile phone numbers. Some of the patients that I uploaded had a landline number as their mobile phone number, or some didn't have any phone number at all. To send a batch message, you do need to actually have a mobile phone number rather than a landline. But what you can actually do at this point is press this button here that says download list. This is downloading a list of all of those patients you've not been able to contact today. What you can do with that list is give it to your admin team, who can then update the phone number with a mobile phone number so that you can actually send them a batch message at a later date and time. But what I'm going to do is just press continue and I'll message these 3 patients. As I mentioned, when you are sending a batch message, you can either send an SMS, where you can choose from templates. You can also create your own templates, or you can choose to send a flurry. What we'll do is go through sending an SMS first. When you do choose a template, for example, I'll just choose this opening hour template, you can see that the message in the box has been pre-populated. So it's just going to be a nice time-saving way of sending a batch message. And you can also attach a file to this batch message too. When you are sending an SMS, this is a free text box. So even if you use a template, you can still choose to type over that. What I'm going to do is just press continue. And at this point, you can review what you're doing before hitting send, and then also add any additional SNOMED codes. So you just want to go down this list and find the SNOMED code you're looking for. What I'm going to do though is just go back and then I'm going to show you the flow of sending out one of our structured questionnaires using batch messaging. We previously spoke about using the asthma ACT questionnaire. You can see that when I chose the asthma flurry, a message is pre-populated into the box. Just like when using a message template, you can type over this message, it's still free text. If you press continue, you can just review what you're doing. So I'm messaging 3 patients with the asthma ACT questionnaire. I can also see the message I'm sending out to the patients, and this flurry already has a SNOMED code linked to it. So when I press send message, the asthma monitoring invitation SMS sent, SNOMED code will be automatically saved into the patient's clinical record. Our asthma ACT questionnaire is really commonly used with practices. What they'll do is get a list of all the patients coming up to their asthma annual review. They'll then send out the asthma ACT questionnaire ahead of the asthma annual review, just to gather up some of the information about the patient's condition asynchronously to save time actually in the review. We did actually make a change to 3 of our non-clinical flurries not too long ago to automatically save the patient's responses to the clinical record. So if you're using, let's have a look here, the BMI questionnaire, the ethnicity questionnaire, or the smoking questionnaire, you can see this additional box pop up here that says save responses to the patient's record automatically. That means if I was to send out this smoking questionnaire to a bunch of patients and I tick this box, as soon as they hit submit on the questionnaire, that will automatically save to their clinical record, along with any SNOMED codes. For example, if this patient says that they are a recurrent smoker, their smoking cessation advice SNOMED code will also automatically save into the clinical record. So it's a really great one for achieving cough points easily and also time saving. So you don't need to manually save these to the record because they're not clinical. So really recommend you sending out these flurries because yeah, you don't need to monitor the patient's responses. I'm just going to press continue. So I'm sending this to 3 patients. It is the smoking questionnaire. It's the smoking questionnaire, also the BMI questionnaire and the ethnicity questionnaire where you can auto save the responses. I can also see the SNOMED code that will be saved into the patient's record when I press send. And when I do press send message, this will save a record of the message being sent out into the patient's clinical record and also automatically save those responses too. When you do send a batch message using Accurx, you just need to make sure that your toolbar, which is this toolbar here, and also your clinical system are open when you hit send, just to allow us to write back into the clinical record. Also, just to also let you know, with batch messaging, we did have a limit on how many patients you could message at one time. So practices used to be limited to sending out to 1,000 patients all at once. We did actually just get rid of that limit so you can send a batch message to as many patients as you wish. So that is batch messaging. What I'm going to show you next is actually appointment reminders. But before we go over to appointment reminders, because we'll be setting up our friends and family test in the post-appointment automated message, what I need to do is actually create my friends and family test. So I'm just going over to this tab here, which is taking me to Google Forms. When you use Accurx for friends and family test, you actually need to create your own friends and family test survey. This means you're in control of all your responses. That's not monitored by us. You have all of that data rather than us. And just for the sake of the demo, I am using Google Forms, but if you want to use Microsoft Forms or if you want to use SurveyMonkey, that is completely fine. As long as you can create an online survey where you can get a link to this, that is completely fine. What I've done is just set up my friends and family test beforehand. So it is nice and brief. Obviously, this is your own survey, so you can customize it in whichever way you want to. I just copied mine off the NHS website, so yeah, you can make yours your own. What I'm going to do is press send. And what I'm wanting to do here is actually copy a link to this survey. So I'm clicking on this link here. And what I'm making sure to do is shorten the URL. Because we're going to be sending out this link to patients, I want to make sure that this URL link is as short as possible so it doesn't take up too much space in the text message, which might increase your SMS fragmentation costs. So I've created my friends and family test survey and I've copied the link for it. So now I'm ready to set up my appointment reminder and friends and family test. What I'm going to do is click my initials on my toolbar and then go to Manage Organization. Your option might say Manage Practice, but it takes you to exactly the same place. I'm just going to scroll down under Accurx Desktop and select Appointment Reminders. Appointment reminders work by scraping your appointment book. It will then look for the slot types that you've got set up in your appointment book, and then you can actually create reminders for each of these slot types. Just to show you how this works, we'll set up a new reminder together. So I'm going to press this button that says set up a new reminder. If your practice has multiple sites, you can actually choose which location you want this reminder to be from. So this can be completely customized by you. You can select all of your locations. You can just select one of your locations. That's completely your choice. The second thing you need to do is actually select which of your slot types this reminder is for. So I'm opening up the drop-down list of slot types. As you can see, there's actually some slot types I'm able to select here, but there's some that are grayed out. For example, online consult or medication query here, they're grayed out. This just means that a appointment reminder has already been set up for that slot type, so it's just stopping you from creating duplicate reminders. Just like with the site locations, you can actually choose as many slot types as you want. You can choose one, you could choose all of them, that's up to you. The message for the appointment reminder is "Dear," and then it will pull in the patient's name. This is a reminder of your appointment, which is booked in for. It will pull in the date and time of that appointment, and then also the location that you've set. If you need to cancel, please follow this link. A link will be automatically generated into the message, and then it will say thanks and have your practice name. If you did want to customize this appointment reminder, what you can do is type in your own custom message into the middle of this box here. For example, if there was any directions that you want to put to the practice, you can enter them here. If I was setting up a reminder for a asthma or COPD clinic, I could just put a note to say, please remember to bring your inhaler. Something I'd also be wary of here is SMS fragments. So if you keep your reminders nice and short and sweet, that will use up less SMS fragments. But if you do put quite a long customization here, that will use more. What I'll do is send you around a link about SMS fragment costs in the follow-up of this reminder webinar when I send you all the recording. Appointment reminders are automatically sent to patients exactly 24 hours before their scheduled appointment. You can also send this to patients a week before the appointment too, but yeah, by default, it's just 24 hours before the appointment. The post-appointment message is where we're going to be pasting our friends and family test link. There is a resource article here linked about how to create a friends and family test. So if you are feeling confused, please just follow this link here, or you can get in touch with our support team using this chat bubble just on the bottom right of the screen. So what we want to do is actually set up a post-appointment message that's going to be automatically sent to patients exactly 24 hours after their appointment. You don't have to use this specifically for friends and family tests, but that's just what I'm going to be demoing with you today. What I need to do is just write a short message asking the patient to complete the form to tell us about their experience at the practice yesterday. I'm sure you'll probably find better wording for this message, but I've just put in my message, please let us know how your experience was at your appointment. And then what I've done is actually pasted in that link for my friends and family test that we created just a few moments ago. It will also just say dear patient and then also thanks and have your practice name. Once you press set reminder live, that is now live. So for any of those slot types, patients would get the reminder 24 hours ahead of their appointment and also receive the post-appointment message with a link to the Friends and Family Test survey. If any patients are to complete that survey, all their responses will go into your Google form or your Microsoft form or your SurveyMonkey form, wherever you create that, and they would go into this response tab here. So that means we do not control your responses at all. So you're fully in control of any friends and family test response. If you want to edit or delete any reminders, if you just go to the reminder that you've created and press edit here, you can choose a location, you can change the slot type, add in your own message customization, or you can delete the reminder if you'd like to. Just one last point on appointment reminders. So I did just mention in the actual reminder message, the patient is given a link where they can cancel their appointment. If the patient does cancel their appointment, that is automatically cancelled from your clinical system. So there's no need to monitor a cancellation inbox. We do keep a list of any patients that have cancelled their appointment. So if any patient has cancelled their appointment, they'll be held under this cancellations tab here. This will just keep a record of their NHS number, name, and the appointment date and time that they cancelled. And then we do also keep any delivery receipts for appointment reminders too. If, for example, a patient has not turned up to an appointment, where you see that there is an appointment reminder form, what you can actually do is filter this delivery receipts page to any appointment reminders that failed to send. So you might filter this list and see, okay, that patient's appointment reminder failed to send. Maybe we've got their number wrong, so you can update that. So that is batch messaging and appointment reminders. We have got around 10 minutes if you've got any questions. So if you do have questions, please just pop them into the Q&A box. If you don't have any questions, I'd just like to thank you for coming along today. And I will be sending the recording to anybody who came along or also registered for the webinar. So you'll get that recording from me later this afternoon. If there aren't any questions, what I'll do is just end our session here. But yeah, thank you very much for coming today. Hope you all have lovely days. Let me know if you have any questions after the webinar. You'll have my email when I send you the recording. But yeah, thank you and goodbye.